Hey guys, it's Big Time Rush Slow 3 with How to Survive, and today we're going to do How to Survive Your Ex. Now, I know this may not relate to everyone if you've never dated or you just don't really have that connection with someone. In my opinion, it had a lot to do with, I think in general, it was more about losing a friend as well. And as me as a person, I have been pretty alone my entire life, which is kind of depressing, but in senses, I haven't had that many close friends, which made my experience way harder than a lot of people's, I think. And it had to do a lot with, I felt like I was losing my best friend at the time, like along with just losing my ex, and it was so bad because I was like, I have no one. In senses, I had people, but if you don't have that great connection with people, they're just friends and aren't really anything more than that. And it had a lot to do with other things, so obviously on How to Survive Your First Love, things didn't end well, and I think it had a lot to do with when you're in a relationship, if it's going well, it doesn't have to be in their view of things, it could just be in you. If you're really happy about it and, like, things are going great, you're gonna feel like a giant high compared to where your life was, right? Like, because it kind of leads up from, like, oh, something might happen, so you kind of jump to that state, and then you jump even higher than that. And for me, it was like that, but then it suddenly dropped down to a low, and it was like, it wasn't like a low that I was originally, it was lower than that, because you know, when you get used to something, it's kind of like a routine. And for me, I feel like I'm a routine person in some senses. Like, I do follow a routine most days. Like, I do this on this day, this, and it's kind of that gist. But so kind of living in a routine where you have to cross out someone else from your life and they were in your routine, it's abnormal and it has a giant effect on you. And I think that's really why you're feeling the low. Now, the thing that made it even harder was he had decided not to inform us ahead of time about him moving schools. So I hadn't really coped with the idea of really letting him go. Like, I'm like, okay, maybe it's better that we're friends because of all the expectations and stuff. But I'll still see you every day. I never said that, but since I'm like, yeah, I will see you at school. Maybe you won't be there every day because as you as a person, you don't show up to school every day. But you know, you'll be around and I'll be okay, which was probably a bad idea. I probably should have, like, if I knew what happened, I don't think I would have ended it like that. I don't know what I would have done because, like, you should have informed me before that because, you know, the great thing about dating in high school is you'll probably see them in high school. And people are like, oh, but why would you want to see your ex? Because if you're not over someone, the last thing you want to do is, like, completely shut them out of your life. And for me, I think I was in denial about it. Like, I'm like, I don't have feelings for him, but I really did, and my friend saw that. She's like, well, you can always get back together. Which, at a later attempt, I tried, and it didn't work out. So, I think in some senses, you gotta go for what you want and follow your heart, and even if it, like, will lead you even more brokenhearted than before, but you know, in other senses, like, because it's always the what ifs in life. People have always told me, like, what if, like, aren't you, like the biggest regret you can have is what if. So in some senses, like, I don't regret any of it happening, but it did lead me down a really sad road. Now, I think I kind of mentioned something beforehand, which made me really sad, is apparently he was really sad before he went to the program. It was like a special program, an alternative high school program for people that are at risk of dropping out, which I also sort of reference in my first year love, and if you watch that, you probably know what I'm talking about. And I guess it was really odd for me in senses because in the beginning he was kind of uncomfortable about it, you know, he wasn't that comfortable in it, so I was like, okay, whatever, you know, that's what you deserve. But later on, it was like, he was incredibly happy in this program, and I'm like, you don't care that you're leaving, and I'm like, over here all alone, and it's kind of, and that just, as a person, I feel like you always need to have a ton of friends to, like, survive in life, but as for me, I was pretty much a loner my entire life, which is really depressing to say, but it's not that I wasn't sociable, I feel like in life, if you're around the wrong people, it's never gonna work out for you, because the people that are meant to be your friends are just not there. I did have a friend at the time who was, like, my best friend right now, but her as a person, she's great, amazing, but she always has a few, like, sometimes I wouldn't say she can't hang out and stuff, but I think at the time she got in trouble and she couldn't like go on the phone and stuff, and I was kind of alone, and I felt like I was losing her at times, and it was really awful. And I think I will still have those really low moments because the thing is I don't have other things to focus on, and I think that's the biggest thing. If something bad happens, you need to take your mind off of it. And I feel like for me personally, me taking my mind off it, like I'm like, what did I think about before I thought about this stuff? Because that's all I've been thinking about. And it was, I think that's what you got to do, take your mind off things. And what I did for the longest time was I still do this now because I'm better in senses, but you just I dive into my stories. Like, I kind of vicariously live through my stories, even though they're not real. Like, I think about them a lot, and I'm like, well, it's just kind of, it's like it's kind of like when you fangirl over something, and then you obsess, which I have too, over different things over the times. And a lot of things can really result in bad to happen, but I don't know, it was hard because I had to deal with a lot of different things, and it didn't help because after that we took a break, and then we did end up hanging like the next summer, which was kind of sad because we only hung out like twice, and then he just disappeared, and I found out because like his mom took away his phone and he couldn't have like any connection with friends and stuff. Awful. I feel like if that ever happens to you, like I feel like most people that have like normal parents are like lucky in that sense, because I think the most important thing is if you ever date someone and they don't want you to meet their mom and there's like a legit reason behind that, you kind of got an issue there, or like their dad, or just like any parent figure, because unless they're completely an adult and they're like living on their own, like while they're living with someone, and it could be the reason why they're acting that way, because parenting really, the way you parent your kids really results in who they are as people. And even if they kind of are like, they could try to be different, like they're complete opposites, but they are a certain way because of their home life. And that's a very important thing to take in consideration about everything. And it's not really going to be a big deal, but like, in senses it doesn't feel like that, but it will kind of make sense. It depends how long things go for. And in senses, I feel like the whole scenario of having an ex, I think in the beginning I was like, oh wow, that's kind of cool, I have an ex. Because the thing is, relationships don't last very long, but exes, they kind of last forever unless you get back together with them, and then they're not your ex for a little while. But I feel like you'll always have exes forever, which is kind of a nice thing, but then it's like, oh, it's actually kind of bad. I mean, who wants to have an ex for life, But you will, in senses, you'll end up finding someone else, and that's the biggest things, because, yeah, I'm sorry, my mind's like, I think one thing you probably shouldn't do, people are like, oh, you shouldn't, like, stalk them online, like, come on, delete them from Facebook and stuff. This is funny, I actually friended him, like, actually this year, because apparently he had it beforehand, but then he never friended me and my friend, and we were gonna talk to him, but then he just never replied, and then I did see he was on, but I didn't message him, because it was after, like, another incident where I realized that it was kind of like the very end of it all. In senses, I'll have a mixed emotions, but he won't control my entire mind. Except when I'm talking about this, I am looking back at part of it. I'm sorry if my words aren't like fully making sense. Hopefully you get my point. This isn't like super professional, but the only way I could do that is if I like wrote it out, and I am just kind of going from the head, speaking that way. So hopefully that helps. So anyway, people tell you don't stalk. If you want to stalk, don't, like, you're gonna sit there being like, oh, I shouldn't, oh, I should, oh, I should. Just goddamn, like, look at their page. Because you know what? Like, unless they keep posting pictures of them and, like, their girlfriend and stuff, you're like, oh, God, that's gonna kill me. I feel like at that point, it's gonna brutally kill you. But if they're not really posting, or, for me, in senses, he never posts, but I can check because of his program, which is super creepy. If he's watching this, which is, like, not even happening because you don't even talk to him anymore. But I just, kind of keeps you updated, and I feel like that way I kind of know he's still alive, but probably in a few years when, like, he's not in the program anymore, I'll be like, oh, shiz. Maybe I'll see something being posted online, but in senses, it's the kind of friendship that it is. It's like, you're too busy now to be my friend, but, maybe in 5 years. But then, realistically, if you think about 5 years, by 5 years, you'll have someone else to obsess over. So, and since things don't matter, you just have to give it time. The question is how long a period of time, not a day, not a week, not even months sometimes will cure it. It's really about years in a sense. It won't be like an insane amount of years, and during the years, like, you will slowly grow out of it, that it will not bug you to the sense where you're happy with your life and life is going good. So yeah, I wanted to record this for you guys, and hopefully it helps. It's really weird advice. It's not like general advice where it's more of story time advice on how to survive. If you have questions about your ex though, or future ex, or anything you want to hear about, or any topic, you can leave it down below in the in the comments. Sorry, like description, no, the comments. And you can ask, and I will talk about whatever you want. If you have something you really want to hear about, or there's a story you want to hear from me, I will happily do that. If you want more about any topics, I can also talk about that too. So let me know. I would love to hear your questions. And yeah, I hope this helps. It's weird advice. And yeah.